Hey everybody, so today I am in a random small town in Sweden. I'm currently on my way to visit the Arctic Circle, but for now I'm exploring this town. And if you look at it on a map, you would assume that it's pronounced Skellefteå. But I'm still working on the pronunciation. It's actually pronounced Skellefteå. No idea how that works at all. The Swedish language is quite a mystery. Skellefteå is in the northern part of Sweden, and as you can imagine, it's pretty sparsely populated up here. You got basically one town every 50 to 100 miles out here, and that's about it. And as you can see, it's fucking gorgeous here. I'm not planning to make a long video here, but I kind of just wanted to show off how beautiful Sweden is. This town is somewhat special to me because it is actually the home of one of my favorite bands. They're called Moon Safari. They're a prog rock band. They sound a lot like Yes, and I think they fucking rock. So if you have some time, I recommend checking out Moon Safari. There's a church over there on the other side of the river, which is frozen because it's cold. I'm out here in Sweden in late November, hoping to catch the northern lights, which so far still haven't done, but I've got my eye out. And of course, because it's this time of year, everything is frozen over. They seem to do a good job of graveling the roads and trails, not necessarily salting them, but at least for the most part, it's fine to walk around here without worrying about falling on your ass and being hurt for a few hours. I've only slipped on the ice a few times in my life, but there's really one that stands out in my memory. It's when I landed directly on my tailbone. And if you're falling on the ice, I do not recommend falling on your tailbone. For as cold as it looks here, and for as cold as you would imagine it to be in northern Sweden, nearly in the winter time, it's really not that bad here. I think it's only like in the 20s right now, maybe in the low 30s. The reason why it's really not that cold here compared to similar latitudes in Russia and in Canada is because of the Gulf Stream that keeps a lot of Europe warm, given how far to the north that it is. So there's a bit of science for you. I would say that Sweden is probably my favorite country in Europe, and that's because in every town you go to here, you're never too far from nature, specifically this type of nature. Even in Stockholm, when you're in the center of town, you're never more than like a few miles away from a gorgeous forest, and I'm a fan of forests. I just stumbled upon this town's cemetery, and it's one of the more unique cemeteries that I think I've ever seen. If you look at these tombstones, they're pretty unassuming. They kind of blend in with the nature. I'm walking along this bridge that actually has cars going across it, but because it's only one lane, there's like a light telling them when they can go and when they can't. There are a lot of trails I want to check out here, but unfortunately, it's not really easy. Here's that church again. Shout out to God. Out of all the countries that I've visited, I think Sweden is the one where I've been most confused for being a local. And that's because as a tall, white, autistic weirdo, I blend in pretty well here. I highly recommend visiting Sweden if you ever get the chance. Although I should warn you that their train system, for whatever reason, is, I think, like the most expensive one in the world. It costs like $50 to ride a train for 2 hours. The bus prices are like half that price, so use a bus to get around Sweden. Despite the fact that the weather looks like this, there's still a ton of people walking and biking and even jogging around here. Everybody goes faster than me because they have spikes on their shoes, which means they don't have to worry so much about slipping on the ice. Even the bicyclists have special tires that are built to withstand any sort of black ice that they might come across. Whenever you walk on a trail or a sidewalk here, they have these little signs of like a guy with a child. And they're there to let you know that it is okay to walk here. Throughout Scandinavia, you see a bunch of houses that are brightly colored, typically either red or yellow. And I guess the reason for that is because during the winter, it's dark for so long, and so they want something nice and brightly colored to look at. Here's a fun fact for you. Sweden actually has the most islands out of any country in the world, even more than Indonesia, and that place is nothing but islands. And that's because Sweden has lakes, a whole bunch of lakes, even more than Minnesota. And when you have a lot of lakes, you have a lot of islands. A lot of the Swedes who moved over to America moved to places like Minnesota and Wisconsin, and I can see why. The geography of those places is not too dissimilar. As far as tourism goes, Sweden often gets overlooked because of its neighbor, Norway. So, admittedly, Norway has much more interesting geography. It has a bunch of just beautiful mountains and whatnot. And in comparison, Sweden is pretty flat. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't visit Sweden, because it's very cozy here. That's the best word for it. I would say that this is a very cozy country. It is worth mentioning that basically every sizable town in Sweden has an IKEA, and going to an IKEA in Sweden is peak Sweden. It couldn't be more Swedish if there was ABBA playing in the background. Here is a sign letting you know that there is construction in the area. And you can tell because that guy is doing construction. I've made it to downtown Skellefteå, and here is a taco bar. They've even got taco bars here. This town has a population of only about like 30,000, I think. But even this has a cute, walkable downtown area with plenty of businesses. If this was the US, this town would be a lot more depressing than this. A lot of apartments and houses around Sweden have these candles out that look like menorahs, but they're not. They're actually for Christmas time. Apparently they have Christmas candles in Sweden. That's about it for today's video. I'm gonna go find something for lunch and then head off to the bus station and go off to the next town, which is even further north than this. So yeah, I was happy to show off some of Sweden. I watch a lot of travel vlogs, and I haven't really seen anything related to the northern European countries. So I think there should be more of that on YouTube. All right, see ya.